I've learned a lot in this session, and here's what I think I've picked up. One thing did not go wrong that resulted in President Trump being shot. Mr. Bongino explained the 3 different layers and the lack of air controls. Mr. Schaefer explained the comms breakdowns. You got the paperwork back and forth with the field office and headquarters. So all these things are going wrong. So then the obvious question is, why did that systemic cascading failure occur? And I think you've given us really good testimony as to why. First, it's Bongino saying, well, this was bound to happen based on these structural failures, with technology failures, with this embrace of DEI and a quota system. You had a very low floor to start with. And then I don't want to bury the lead here. You heard Mr. Prince's testimony that he believes that a motivation here might be they just didn't deem Trump a sufficiently worthy protectee, and that could inform on it. And then I think the most damaging, and I never really contemplated until you gave the testimony, Mr. Bongino, that giving the Trump detail the assets they requested, air, additional manpower presence, more folks, so that not everything is pushed out to locals, but indeed is the folks that have gone through the type of training that you provided in Maryland. Well, that was because that kind of a force posture could make Trump appear more presidential, more ascendant, more in charge. And I do think that in addition to what Mr. Prince has said about budget, there are things Congress can do to direct specific demands for documents around those 3 vectors and work on all of them. To the structural issues, Mr. Prince, is it something leadership can fix? Because one thing we've found is that you try to put downward pressure on any budget around here for anything, and it's like you're committing a war crime. And in some cases, we've seen some agencies improve when you get the right leadership in and can administer an effective agency. What's your perspective on that?
I remember in the late 80s, during the Iran-Contra crisis, controversy, and the CIA was not being forthcoming with some documents that Congress had requested. And of course, the Democrats were in charge of Congress then. Tip O'Neill was the speaker. He made it very clear that he was specifically withholding all the pay for all the SIS, the Special Intelligence Service, Senior Intelligence Service officers at CIA headquarters until those documents were delivered. Shocker, the documents were delivered by Friday to the Congress. Bureaucrats will respond to very specific pain points. I think it even speaks wider than this debacle in Butler, Pennsylvania, but the fact that and it speaks to under-resourcing Trump. They no-resourced Bobby Kennedy, RFK, when his uncle assassinated while president, his father assassinated while attorney general, for the act of politics in America, and they denied him. So it is not too much to surmise that a politicized Secret Service succumbing to the whims of Jill Biden, sending 4 post holders to cover Trump, 12 to cover Jill Biden. At that point, no coverage of Bobby Kennedy. Again, this can only be solved. Congress has the power of purse. Use it as a large bludgeon.
Yeah, Mr. Schaefer, is there any dynamic you think I've missed in sort of summarizing this as, low agency performance generally layered with the other dynamics that the other witnesses have shared?
I don't believe so, Congressman. I think you've covered most of the relevant points in describing how that posture all relates and how this, began as maybe a single failure and multiplied into a much greater failure, just based on different levels. I'll say that, the local law enforcement agencies that were involved that day, both tactical and non-tactical, were improvising, adapting, and overcoming to a lack of intelligence that was provided to them that day. In my historical background, in the Marine Corps, these types of events require planning, require reconnaissance, require intelligence in multiple stages. It requires rehearsals, things that were not seen in this event for this day. My knowledge is when I came onto the scene that morning, that I was fed multiple briefs and multiple maps of the area. I had gathered information as much as I could the night before, which is about the same time as my commander had received the briefings for that day. So we really felt like we were on the back foot and just tried to overcome that throughout the day and gather what we could.
Great, thank you. My time's expired, but I think you've all provided us excellent areas for further inquiry.